Optimizing Telehealth, the premium resource for evidence-based strategies to enhance telepractice today. Brought to you by the Telebehavioral Health Institute. Enjoy this excerpt from the latest episode. To access the full episode and to get your continuing medical education and continuing education hours, visit us at Telehealth.org.
Our next segment is called Tech Talk Time, and we'll be talking about different technologies or products that are related to today's episode. First, of course, is physical stress on ourselves. So you may be seated in a chair that is not designed for you to sit in it for a long period of time. Maybe the elbow rests are not high enough for you. Maybe the back is not contoured. Maybe you're looking down onto your desk into a laptop. And maybe your instruments are too far away from you. Maybe they're too close to you. These are the kinds of things that we'll be talking about. The first thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about your chair is that if you're slouching, then you may very well be experiencing pain in your neck, your shoulders, your elbows, and your knees and your ankles if your feet are not flat on the floor. Your feet should be flat on the floor when you're seated all day, just to give your spine that extra support. Right? If you are too hunched over, then you may start feeling pain in your mid-back as well as the other areas, as well as your low back. So you need to be sitting straight up, and you need to have some cushioning in there in your low back and perhaps up behind your cerebellum, your cervical spine to support your neck. Maybe you want to lean your head back for a minute or two throughout the day. It could take a lot of pressure off. Our spines react really well to being relieved of the load. And so if you need to, between sessions, you can also go lie down. It's much more relaxing to lie down for 5 minutes than it is to sit up. It's amazing. There's a lot of literature on that. Now, if you look at ergonomics, and if you look at how Shauna and I are positioned here today, we are in the top third or so of our screens. That's because we've positioned ourselves so that our eyes are at the top of the screen. That prevents you from having to lean over and look down into a laptop all day. Because if you tilt your head forward all day, well, guess what? Your neck's going to hurt, right? If you look up, your screen is too high, well, now you're pinching the back of your neck and your neck is going to hurt. So the optimal position is you're looking straight ahead as you're talking to somebody. Well, most of us would have known that if someone asked us what's our optimal position. When you talk to somebody, look them straight in the eye, and to have them do the same, position their computers the way that they need to. Now, if you're sitting or if you're standing, the same thing is true. You need to have your eyes, the optimal position is at the top of the screen, the top 1/3 or so in the screen. It's also what you would imagine would be when you take a picture of somebody. Let's say you go to a wedding or something, you're taking pictures of people. Well, you're not going to put their face at the bottom of the picture, right? You're going to put it at the top of the picture. So the other thing I want to show you here is a device called a Boyata, B-O-Y-A-T-A, and it is something that you can put a laptop in. I put my laptop in it, and then it's easy to have the laptop be at eye level, you see? So you can arrange yourself. Take a box or a stack of books or whatever you need so that you have your computer up so that you're not straining your neck all day.
Optimizing Telehealth is brought to you in part by SciBooks, your one-stop shop for telebehavioral health technology. Learn more. Visit them at SciBooks.com, PSYBOOKS.com.
Dr. Williams, after some coaching, decided that she would make changes to her workflow. She would ask for support staff and to build in more breaks. She delegated some of her work to an assistant is what she did. She also reorganized her office to meet ergonomic needs. And in her case, because this is somebody that I consulted with, in her case, what she needed to do was to point her computer away from the door because she had young children and she never was really sure if one of them would be banging on the door, and it just caused her a tremendous amount of stress. So what you can do too is if you have a door or a hallway behind you, move your computer so that, and even your desk, move your desk so that you're not facing that door. It may take some time to plan the room differently, but the amount of stress that is going to have on you internally could be well worth it. And she also started incorporating light exercise and movement in her day. She told me that she used to do a lot of yoga and she'd kind of given it up. But then she said that she had promised herself she'd do 2 yoga poses between every session. And she was really happy that she was doing that because at the end of the day, she'd done a bunch of them. So she was pleased with herself about that. And then she did some mindfulness exercises as well, just kind of some breathing in and breathing out and focusing on what she had learned in her mindfulness training of her own, which, by the way, there are wonderful YouTube videos on that. You don't have to go pay for a big fancy training program if you don't want to. You can learn a lot of things just using the tools we have available on the internet. And then again, there are some very good training programs if you're really into it. But she reevaluated her documentation process because she realized it's what she learned in school. And that was a long time ago. So she decided she'd better up that and see how she could consolidate things in better documents that would be easy, not only for her to use, but also for her to share with other people on the team. And so they got themselves a HIPAA compliant document portal and cloud storage that they could go and get information out of, in and out of for all the documentation. So they've been able to up their game with all of that as well. And then she decided she was going to reduce her screen time before going to bed. A few hours of no screen time where you do other activities is something that's quite novel for lots of people to even consider these days. But it really is something where that wind down time your nervous system often needs it, especially if you've been bombarding your nervous system with digital input all day.
Thanks for listening to this excerpt from the latest episode of Optimizing Telehealth, your premium resource for evidence-based care. To access the full episode and to get your continuing medical education and continuing education hours, go to optimizingtelehealth.org.